Good evening, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for joining me. Today is January 24th, 2022. So I have a lot to cover. I will start with OFC, Oromo Federalist Congress news, uh, plus the ongoing conflict in Tigray, the Afar regional government claims about TDF forces, uh, also ONLF press statement on the upcoming national dialogue, the genocide and other grave human rights violations in Oromia, especially on Wallo Oromos and uh, some other international news like Houthis attack on United Arab Emirates uh, and other news will be included today. So thank you, and I appreciate you taking your time with me. So I will start with on Oromo Federalist Congress news. Oromo Federalist Congress OFC party had its first in-person meeting in almost 2 years. COVID-19 and the arrest of the Oromo Federalist Congress officials such as Bekele Garba, Johar Mohammed, Hamza Borana, Dejanet Afar, and others severely impacted the chance of having in-person sessions. Mr. Johar Mohammed appeared in Karayu Oromo's hairstyle to highlight the genocide committed on the 16 Karayu Oromos, including their senior leaders, by Oromia Region's Police Commissioner Ararsa Merdasa order and by Oromia Special Forces. Such brutality and disregard for Oromo's traditional leadership never happened in recent Ethiopian history. The Oromo Federalist Congress officials called for independent investigations for these Karayu Oromo's killings, plus for the killings carried out on Hachalu Hundessa, on their lawyer Abdul Jabbar Hussein, and for other atrocities happened and happening in Oromia region and beyond. The OFC party said it will continue its peaceful movement in solving the challenges Oromos are facing in Oromia region and beyond. OFC also supports ending the ongoing civil conflict in Ethiopia peacefully and to have inclusive and genuine dialogue in the country to save Ethiopia from collapsing. OFC also called on the ruling party to release all political prisoners, including senior Oromo Liberation Front officials, such as Colonel Gamachu Ayana, Dawit Ibsa, OLF chairman, it is in house arrest, Abdi Ragasa, Abdi Benya, and others to end its usual hostile acts against opposition parties in the country. The unity of Oromos also depicted at their meeting by slaughtering animal jointly and dining together without regard of their religious differences. Oromo Media Network also reported the killings of 23 Wallo Oromos in Oromia Special Zone in Amhara region within last week. According to eyewitness from the area. These individuals were taken from prison cells and massacred by Amara Fano, Amara Special Forces, as a revenge. They are accusing these individuals as supporters of ONLF and the TDF during a short occupation of the cities and the towns in the area. Such attacks on the Wollo Oromos by heavily armed Amara Fanos and Amara Special Forces intensified since the TDF and Oromo Liberation Army forces withdrew from northern and the southern Wollo. Wollo Oromos are urgently calling on the international communities to save them from ongoing genocide in the Oromia Special Zone in Amara regions. Calls from East and West Wallagga, Guji Zone, Borana, Western and Central Shoa zones, Western Hararge and other Oromia zones are also urging the international media and the international communities to end their silence on the atrocities and the grave human rights violations occurring in these indicated Oromia zones. So the ongoing atrocities, genocide, and other grave human rights violations are ongoing in East and West Wallagga, especially no line of communication, no internet, no phone service in East and West Wallagga for the last 3 years. So we don't know what's happening over there. It's just some eyewitness describing grave human rights violations and other genocide, including the burning of their homes in West and East Wallagga, now is intensified in Wollo, in Oromia Special Zone. And nobody is controlling this Fano and Amara militia. Even the federal government and the regional authorities allow this genocide to continue in this special Oromia Special Zone. Okay, let's see one video while these OFC senior officials enjoying together for the first time in almost 2 years. Here we go. This was a song produced for Johar Muhammad. See how he looked like? He looked like, you know, in a just Karayu traditional style. And I appreciate, concerned citizens media appreciate him for doing this because he is highlighting the seriousness of the crime committed by Prosperity Party officials on Karayu Oromo. And I hope he will remain in such way until justice serves for Karayu Oromos, Hachalu Hundessa, and Abdul Jabbar Hussein, and for so many known and unknown individuals killed by Prosperity Party officials. Now they are joining Christians and Muslims on slaughtering this nice ox. See, they're using a single knife, Christian, Muslims, Protestant. And this is an indication that Oromos are one, regardless of their religious differences. So this song is, as I said, produced before Johar Mohammed and other senior OFC officials released. And it looks like specifically produced for Johar Mohammed. You know, he is not supposed to be in a cage. He's supposed to be outside and, you know, yeah. Freedom. He was, he produced it for his freedom instead of staying in jail. Yeah. Okay, so credit, as you see, is Oromia Media Network. So I will, you know, appreciate them for their coverage on this, the first time in-person meeting for Oromo Federalist Congress.
This is going to take all day.
Come on.
Plans, brunch, bubble bath.
Can't escape this.
BuyAnyCar.com. Selling your vehicle is always fast and fair. And a nice pedicure. All done. Don't trade in or sell by yourself. We begin this news with breaking.
Okay, I will come back to this one at the end. This is about Burkina Faso, another West African country, going through a military coup. So I will have it at the end of the program. So that's for the first in-person meeting of this OFECO, Oromo Federalist Congress Party senior officials, Johar Mohammed Bakalagarba and Dr. Marara and others. So I hope they will enjoy the freedom forever. They will not go back to jail, and they will continue their movement until all Oromos are out of jail. Oromia has become a prison for Oromos, and all kind of atrocities are happening in Oromia. I hope this will come to an end. It became intensified under Abiy Ahmed leadership, became worse. Oromia became a prison cell for all Oromos, and all kind of a genocide happening against Oromos, whether in Wallo, Wallega, East Wallega, West Wallega, Hararge, Bale, Guji, everywhere. This well celebrated, this welcomed leader created chaos, anarchy, death, and destruction in Oromia and in Ethiopia at large. So let's continue with other news. Thank you again. This one is Afar region accusing TPLF. Ethiopia's rebel TPLF launched attack in Afar region. The Tigray People Liberation Front, TPLF, which designated as a terrorist group by the Ethiopian parliament, has launched a new military attack in Afar region of Ethiopia. This SIS indicated by the Afar Regional Government Communication Office, which issued a statement today. TPLF has started attacking Kilbeti Rasu Zone, Abala, Berhel, and Megale Waradas or districts in Afar region, according to the statement. The statement indicated that after crossing into Afar region from Tigray, the terrorist group ruthlessly has been firing heavy weapons on civilians living on the three districts. So that's the accusation of the Afar region. The statement of Afar region indicated that even though TPLF has invaded 21 districts in Afar region in 4 zones and killed many civilians, displaced millions of civilians, and destroyed billions of birr, private and public properties for the sake of humanity and brotherhood, the Afar regional government has allowed the delivery of humanitarian assistance such as food aid to the people of Tigray. It's via Abala district. This is lie. According to one report, they blocked humanitarian access to Tigray. I have that report too. Meanwhile, by starting war in this corridor, Abala, the terrorist group has demonstrated its ruthlessness act blocking assistance to the people of Tigray, which TPLF claims to represent, according to the statement. Credit for this one, newsbusinessethiopian.com. There we go. So the Afar region claims allowing humanitarian aid, but then this report, the next one, saying WFP trucks headed to Tigray, blocked by Afar forces. So we don't trust those government, under Abiy Ahmed. They are, they don't care. They lie too much. They don't care, really. And they don't feel ashamed. The Afar regional troops have been accused of blocking a convoy of trucks carrying humanitarian assistance to the Tigray region amid a serious shortage of food, Tigray Defense Force has claimed in the latest standoff within northern Ethiopia. For 13 months, thousands of people have been subjected to unprecedented hunger in Tigray following a conflict between TDF and the Ethiopian National Defense Force, which was triggered by delay of election and an attack on Northern Command. Getachew Reda, the official spokesperson of TDF, said a 27-truck convoy was blocked by Afar troops under unclear circumstances, despite official clearance by authorities in Addis Ababa, the Ethiopian capital. A 27-truck WFP convoy apparently left Semera on its way to Tigray. The convoy was expected to break the logjam of humanitarian access to Tigray, or so we were told. It turned out, while the government in Addis Ababa had ostensibly given the green light, the regional government of Afar thought the better of it, he claimed. The excuse given was that the regional government didn't approve of the convoy and that there was fighting in Abala, Afar. The most farcical part of the story is that the so-called Abala conflict was launched by the Afar forces and their Eritrean partner a few days ago and still continue, he added. The Eritrean troops have been linked to the assault within the Tigray region despite efforts by the international community to tame them from engineering genocide. The troops made a return in December 2021 days, and the TDF deserted most part of the Afar and Amara region. Tigray authorities now say there is a need to allow the World Food Programme (WFP) trucks to access the region, noting that thousands of people could die should the situation within northern Ethiopia persist. It would be foolhardy for anyone to believe that this was being done without the knowledge of Arat Kilo. We desperately need humanitarian aid for our people and are not interested in petty adventures. Unfortunately, the IC is too busy to notice, he added. Earlier this year, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed had called for reconciliation, but the two parties are yet to agree to terms, further risking the lives of thousands of people in Tigray. The region has been fighting against administration of Abiy Ahmed, who came into power in 2018. Credit for this one, Garo Online News. Ethiopia Army planning to eliminate Tigrayan forces military official. See? So Abiy Ahmed says something, but the officials under him, the senior officials under him, say another thing. So this is a conflicting, lying, and just you don't know what the one government part say and the other government said. Now you see the central government cleared the convoy to enter Tigray, but they tell the regional government to block it. They play such kind of games. So not trustworthy people. Now they have the intention to go into Tigray, and according to this news. Ethiopia military is planning to enter the Tigray regional capital of Mekelle and eliminate rebellious forces, a top military official said late on Friday amid diplomatic effort to end the conflict in the country's north. This week, two top U.S. diplomats flew into Addis Ababa to push for a ceasefire, trying to build on tentative sign of a thaw in relation between warring parties, including the release of political prisoners. In an interview with the state-affiliated media outlet Fana broadcast late on Friday, Ethiopian Defense Force (EDF) Deputy Army Chief General Abebaw Taddese said the country will not be at peace until the TPLF was eliminated. Tigray is part of Ethiopia, and no force will stop us from entering. We will enter and we will eliminate the enemy. There should not be any confusion about this, General Abebaw said. The people of Ethiopia should not think that it is over. It is not over. The main thing here is we have stopped because we have to prepare ourselves. This enemy is still there, and it has to be absolutely eliminated. We will not negotiate with them. See what they say? They are telling something to the Americans diplomat, and they are cooking another thing on the other side. So this might be the real intention. Also, maybe they could be defeated again, like before. The TPLF spokesman, Getachew Reda, couldn't be reached for a comment on the military official's remark. Ethiopian government spokesperson Legesse Tulu and the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's spokesperson Bilenesium didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. The TPLF says Abiy wants to end the country's ethnically based federal government system, while Abiy says the TPLF is hungry to seize the national power it once held. For months, there has been an easy statement between the two sides, punctuating by the sporadic fighting. TPLF forces control most of Tigray, but are surrounded by hostile forces from neighboring region of Afar and Amara, which are allied with the federal military, plus the Eritrean forces too. The conflict, which broke out in November 2020, has displaced millions and triggered widespread hunger. In recent months, there have been multiple diplomatic and political efforts to end it, including pressure from the United States. Sudan's second most powerful leader, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, arrived in Ethiopia's capital on Saturday. Abiy said in a tweet, but the purpose of his visit was not disclosed. His visit comes amid tension along the border between Sudan and Ethiopia that have escalated since the outbreak of the conflict that has sent tens of thousands of refugees into eastern Sudan. Credit again, Garo Online. So we don't know what the U.S. diplomats up to now. Nothing is released so far. And I know 2 senior officials from U.S. visited Sudan, Saudi Arabia, and also Addis Ababa, but no press release. I didn't hear nothing. I know the Abiy Ahmed, they can play with them. You know, they are not trustworthy, so they can play. They are preparing in military for military attack, for complete invasion again, as you heard from General Abubao. And on the other hand, they are also cheating the international community and buying time. Over 60 Oromo organizations call for a credible and inclusive national dialogue, neutral convener. Over 60. And I will just read the full statement of their press release, just 1 page. A statement by worldwide Oromo civic, professional, advocacy, human rights, and community organizations regarding the establishment of a national dialogue commission, NDC, in Ethiopia. We, the undersigned organizations, are closely following the preparation by the government of Ethiopia to launch a national dialogue process to facilitate consultation among various stakeholders on fundamental national issues. The government has unilaterally adopted the proclamation establishing a commission for national dialogue with unclear parameters. It is currently in the process of selecting commissioners to lead the National Dialogue Council without transparent procedures and adequate consultation with key stakeholders and supporters. While we welcome the release of a few political prisoners, we note that many thousands remain in detention. We hope that this initial move indicates that the ruling party intends to release all remaining political prisoners and is willing to participate in deliberation in good faith. However, the Ethiopian government is not an impartial, independent body positioned to establish a commission capable of serving as a neutral convener. as essential requisite for a successful, inclusive national dialogue. Therefore, reiterating our August 18, 2021 statement, which called for a comprehensive ceasefire and inclusive dialogue to chart a peaceful path for resolving the country's multi-faced political crisis, the signatories below make the following recommendations. So they have about 6 recommendations. I will read them very quickly. 1. Immediate cessation of hostilities following the comprehensive ceasefire agreement between the federal government forces and all armed groups in Oromia, Tigray, Benishangul Gumuz, Amara, and Afar regional states to create a conducive environment for an all-inclusive political dialogue. Second, unconditional and unimpeded provision of humanitarian assistance, including food and medicine, to all communities affected by conflict, now met with drought-induced starvation, and the re-establishment of vital service, including banking, telecom, transportation, electricity, to millions of Ethiopians in Oromia, Tigray, Benishangul Gumuz, Afar, Amara, and Somali regional states. 3. Immediate and unconditional release of all remaining political detainees, including leaders of the Oromo Liberation Front, ONLF, its chairman, who has been under house arrest since May 2021, thousands of Oromo youths in detention centers, and all other detainees incarcerated in the ethnically targeted crackdown under the state of emergency. 4. The withdrawal of all foreign forces from Ethiopia, particularly Eritrean security, military, and intelligence units, to pave the way for all countries in the region and Ethiopia's bilateral partners to play a constructive role in ending the humanitarian siege and ongoing civil wars. 5. The commencement of an independent, impartial commission to facilitate an all-inclusive, participatory, and transparent national dialogue overseen by conveners who are acceptable to all stakeholders. We call upon the international community to extend its support to such a non-partisan body and a process, because the government-sponsored National Dialogue Council cannot be credibly shoulder the important and historic responsibility. 6. A careful sequencing of the various stages and elements of the national dialogue process to build confidence and create a conducive environment for genuine consultative process. This would require the government to open up the political space in Oromia and beyond in order to accommodate free media, grassroots discussions, and deliberation with all citizens. To this end, we reiterate our call for broader and proactive consultation with all stakeholders on the venue, timetable, convener, pace, conduct, coverage, and implementation of agreements reached among parties to the deliberation. We, the undersigned groups of worldwide Oromo civic, professional, advocacy, human rights, and community organization, therefore urge the government and all stakeholders in Ethiopia, as well as the international community, including the United Nations, United States, China, the European Union and its member states, the African Union and its member states, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, and Iran to take the appropriate steps to ensure a halt to hostilities in all regions of Ethiopia and also ensure that the dialogue process is impartial, inclusive, and participatory process. So that's a very, very strong press release signed by over 60 civic, professional, human rights organizations. So very good one. And this, they're worried about Abiy Ahmed and the Prosperity Party might play a game on the upcoming reconciliation or consultation, national consultation design on the upcoming designed national consultation. It's meaningless anyway. It will be meaningless if the Prosperity Party is allowed to keep its majority in the government. Nothing will be changed. Nothing will be changed. They should be, especially those responsible for civil war in that country, for this bloodshed in that country, should be removed. Should be removed. The best thing is to form a transitional government, new government, instead of legitimizing Prosperity Party. Those criminals, they have too much blood. They cause too much blood in that country, and they cause the country to become stateless or a failed state. Now they are, they are just, I think they are thinking maybe creating just discussion for the sake of discussion and keep Prosperity Party in power. It will not change. It will not change. They should call for transitional government, inclusive government. That's the best thing. That's the best thing. But if you just talk for the sake of talking and keep Prosperity Party in power, there will be a problem for a long, long period of time. Okay, this is about Ogaden National Liberation Front statement, press release on the upcoming dialogue. They also put a precondition before their participation. I read, this one is a very short one. The Executive Committee, EC, of the Ogaden National Liberation Front, ONLF, outlined preconditions that need to be taken for it to partake in the national dialogue. In a statement, the ONLF demanded that the representation in the dialogue must have credible legitimacy, and the agenda presented should be free from discrimination. The Executive Committee further demanded that the national dialogue should be led by universally accepted independent facilitators or mediators and transparent in the decision-making process, including the consensus. At its annual meeting held between 17 to 20 January 2022, evaluating the current situation in the Somalia state, Ethiopia, and the Horn, the Executive Committee of the Ogaden National Liberation Front detailed that the Somali people faced extreme injustice where, according to the pressers, the Ethiopian state violated their most basic human rights and marginalized politically, economically, and socially. In the briefing, the Executive Committee underscored that Somali people will benefit from genuine political will through principled negotiations and will consider the planned national dialogue in Ethiopia if certain sufficient attributes of international standards and practices are met. The Ogaden National Liberation Front emphasized the need for agreed upon transparent selection criteria, criticizing the current process of selecting members of the National Dialogue Commission. It is imperative that the Somali people develop a common outlook and agenda to prepare if a credible national dialogue is held, the statement read. The statement noted the drought that is ravaging the Somali region and appealed to the Ethiopian government, the UN, and the donors to step up their intervention to avert what it called an impending catastrophe. The executive committee concluded its statement by reminding the international community that conflict is not confined to northern Ethiopia, Oromia and Afar. The Somali state is smoldering charcoal hidden by ashes, the statement read, adding that the peace agreement made between the ONLF and the Ethiopian government is not implemented unless a viable solution is that address the legitimate demands of the Somali is achieved. A time bomb more lethal than the catastrophe is northern Ethiopia is simmering under the surface, the statement concluded. So that is a very, very serious warning. It's a time bomb is ticking in Somalia region too. It's more than the worse than the northern part, what's going on in northern part. So that's a very serious warning. And also the agreement is violated. Abiy Ahmed violated, Prosperity Party violated every agreement he made with all political parties, except those friendly and those who are friendly political parties like Izema, Aben, and others. They don't challenge the Prosperity Party. They just take the power and get their salary from Prosperity Party. Okay, this is about our citizens suffering in Saudi Arabia jails. I reported on this one. These things still continue and ignored by the international community, by UN, Human Rights Watch, US, African Union, Ethiopian government, by all humanity, really ignored, and our people are suffering in a very harsh condition under in jail in Saudi Arabia and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. They just continue these atrocities, unprecedented also atrocities on Ethiopians. The pictures are horrible, really. Okay. Stiff suffering detained Ethiopians in Saudi Arabia plead with the government to intervene. On an earlier Addis Standard investigation into the condition of Ethiopian detained in Saudi Arabia's prison revealed that a crackdown on illegal migrants targeted many Ethiopians. Testimonies offered via multiple calls for detainees inside the conservative kingdom. Prisons revealed that the crackdown continued. According to the detainees, nursing mothers, infant, and pregnant women are suffering in the prison without sufficient food, medicine, and a proper place to sleep, and urged the government to intervene. The detainees complained about embassy officials and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs officials abandoning their responsibility and ignoring their pleas. More than 150 people are held in our cell, said Hayat, a mother of one who traveled to Saudi Arabia from the Amara region's Oromia special zone. She said, they don't provide us with sufficient food. They give us a loaf of bread in the morning and another one in the evening. Horrible. In addition, we don't have enough medicines or blankets. Life in this prison is horrible, said Hayat, who was arrested while returning from the hospital where she was receiving mental health treatment. She added, I have an eye condition and I am not getting the proper medication. I pleaded with them while being arrested to allow the chance to buy my medicine, but they refused and said that I will be provided with medicine inside the prison. The Ministry of Ethiopian Foreign Affairs spokesman Dina Mufti admitted that the government failed to fully engage to help our stranded citizens in Saudi Arabia and other Gulf countries due to limited resources and security issues the country is facing, because they are spending money, their resources on military conflict, so they cannot take care of their citizens because they are pouring money in a bloodshed. Ziada is a mother of one and is originally from the war-torn Tigray region. She spoke a great deal about the inhumane condition inside this prison. My daughter and I have been in this prison for 8 months now, said Ziada, before adding, besides not getting sufficient meals, we became vulnerable to communicable disease since they are holding close to 200 people in a single room. Ziada, like thousands of others who entered Saudi Arabia illegally, searching for a better life, shared the common experience by thousands of migrants and the continuing failure by the diplomatic outpost in the kingdom to assist and protect citizens. In an attempt to get a deeper understanding of the situation in Saudi prison, Addis Standard spoke to Nabiyu Sirak, a journalist and a community advocate who lived and was active in Saudi Arabia. He complimented the testimonies by detainees about the inhumane conditions they were kept in and argued that there is a campaign targeting Ethiopians. He said, not all the detainees are illegal migrants. There are also some legal migrants who are detained without any due notice to later be identified as being legal migrants, a practice I would argue is not acceptable, to say the least. According to Nabiyu, more than 500,000 Ethiopians are estimated to be living in Saudi Arabia, both legally and illegally, of which more than 100,000 of them are now suffering in the kingdom's prisons. He said, outside the prison, an estimated of more than 42,000 illegal migrants, but argued that none provided a lasting solution. He added, we know of different initiatives, including sending a delegation to Saudi Arabia from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, but it remains a fact that the government failed at stopping the harassment and suffering of its citizens. The large-scale crackdown continued and the remaining citizens remain under the threat of harassment and abuse. Nabiyu accused the Ethiopian diplomatic mission in Saudi Arabia of failing citizens and explained that the uncoordinated effort resulted in diplomats with diplomatic immunity and their families falling victims to the crackdown. Legal migrants who have fallen victim to the large-scale crackdown also complained of the worsening condition inside prisons like Alamu, a father of four, originally from Bahir Dar. He spoke to Addis Standard via phone from the detention center near Jeddah. He said, for the last 9 months, no official from the Ethiopian General Consular in Jeddah visited us. We are still wearing what we wore on the day we were arrested. Alamu, like many legal migrants, was the breadwinner for his family. He complained that since his imprisonment, his family in Ethiopia suffered from the loss of income. He pleaded with the government to return them home. The crackdown spares no one, according to Ahmed, another legal migrant whose family members are detained. He expressed dismay at how the government is undermining the issue of Ethiopians in Saudi. Ahmed said, I observed that the weekly reports published by Ministry of Foreign Affairs about the detainees do not show the reality on the ground. He added, the reports are politically oriented and do not pay attention to the human rights question of detained citizens. When questions are raised about the conditions of detainees, the government repeatedly talks about the effort to return them. Ahmed complained that despite being a legal migrant, he remains under the threats of detention. The situation is bad. I am outside the prison, but my brother and sister who have their own families back in Ethiopia are suffering in prisons. I cannot provide any kind of support for them as I fear for my own safety. So that is the situation in Saudi Arabia, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And the threat of, the suffering of mothers, daughters, and infants, pregnant women in a very confined environment without proper medication, clothing, food, sanitation. It's horrible. I don't know why Saudi Arabia is decided to do this. Is it with the consultation of Abiy Ahmed to hurt especially those individuals, those Ethiopians in their jail? I never heard Saudi Arabia treating humanity like this before. I don't know. So I call upon again on Saudi Arabia government, if you are listening, if you have a chance to listen to these horrible conditions of Ethiopians in your jail, please take step to ease their problem. You are acting against religious principles. You know that. And also acting against humanity. So I call upon also the international community, Human Rights Watch, United Nations, aid agencies, US, Europe. Please don't just continue your silence because of your relationship with Saudi Arabia Kingdom, because of the money matter, the business matter. Please speak for humanity, speak for human dignity, and international law. So that's my call. Please, these people are suffering. Humanity is suffering under the kingdom presence. This is a U.S. effort in fighting global pandemic, COVID-19. It says global pandemic requires global response. So the United States is playing its part, which is good. And but don't forget the people suffering in Saudi Arabia jail, because you have financial gain from the kingdom. The United States has now donated over 385 million COVID-19 vaccine doses to help ensure everyone has access to vaccination worldwide. And we remain committed to working with our global partners to help end this pandemic at home and everywhere. So that's a tweet, and a very good principle, because if the world is not safe, the United States cannot be safe, because this thing, we are interconnected globally. So this is about Yemeni Houthis, repeated attack on United Arab Emirates, because of the United Arab Emirates is part of that war, helping Saudi Arabia to eliminate Yemenis. Almost started in 2015, still going on. The country is destroyed, so many people killed, so many injured, but no end in sight. Now the Houthis are taking the war into United Arab Emirates. Yemeni Houthi movement aligned with Iran launched a missile attack at the United Arab Emirates on Monday that targeted a base hosting the U.S. military, but was thwarted by U.S.-built Patriot interceptor, U.S. and Emirati officials said. The attack, which sent U.S. troops into bunkers, was the second in a week on the United Arab Emirates, the tourism and the commercial hub of the Gulf region. On January 17, the Houthis hit a fuel depot in Abu Dhabi, killing 3 people. The Houthis, battling a Saudi-led military coalition that includes the United Arab Emirates, have said they aim to punish the Gulf state for backing militias that are blocking their attempts to capture oil-producing regions in Yemen. A Houthi military spokesperson said the group had fired Zulfikar ballistic missile at Afar air base used by U.S. forces and others. Sensitive target. He said it had also launched drones towards Dubai. We advise foreign companies and investors in the United Arab Emirates to leave, as it has become unsafe, he said, adding the group was ready to meet escalation with escalation. The Foreign Ministry of the United Arab Emirates, part of the Six Nation Gulf Cooperation Council, GCC, called the attack a criminal escalation and said it had a right to respond. The U.S. military said it had fired multiple Patriot missile interceptors at the 2 inbound missiles and acknowledged simultaneous effort by UAE's military. The combined efforts successfully prevented both missiles from impacting the base, said a spokesperson at U.S. Central Command who represents U.S. forces in the Middle East. The Emirati ambassador to Washington, Yusuf Al-Ottabia, tweeted that close cooperation with the United States and had helped to deflect the attack, and the U.S. State Department reaffirmed Washington's commitment to strengthen the defense of its Saudi and Emirati partners. The Houthis have repeatedly carried out cross-border missile and drone attacks on Saudi Arabia, but by targeting the United Arab Emirates, they have raised the stakes of conflict, largely seen as a proxy war between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Airstrikes on Yemen, which the Saudi-led coalition says are aimed at crippling the Houthi capabilities, killed at least 60 people in Saada province on Friday and about 20 people in the Houthi-held capital Sana'a on Tuesday. Credit Reuters news agency. So that is a escalating situation in the Middle East, and no ending sight. So it really need serious mediation, serious negotiation to handle that conflict. It destroys human life. So we have also another conflict cooking around the border of Russia and the Ukraine, and a bit, NATO enforcement, and the United States also sending, getting ready to send 8,500 U.S. soldiers to that area. So that's a boiling point. Anytime could be a war. It could be a third world war, unless it's managed through diplomatic means. So that's all I have. I have only one video about the military coup in Burkina Faso, and that will be the end. Thank you again. There we go.
Breaking news out of Burkina Faso, where an attempted coup is underway. Reports from the capital city, Ouagadougou, say the president has been detained at a military base. Soldiers have taken control of the main TV station. Now, this all follows a day of unrest and overnight gunfire near the presidential home. Henry Wilkins joins us now on the line from the capital, Ouagadougou. Tell us where you are and what you're seeing.
Yeah, so we're outside the national television station, RTB, at the moment. The building has clearly been taken over by the military. They blockaded the entrance with an armoured vehicle and installed an anti-aircraft gun just outside. There's been helicopters circling for the last couple of hours. We're really just expecting an announcement from presumably the mutineers who began mutinying yesterday in the capital, Ouagadougou, to say that the government has been taken over.
Is it possible to speculate as to whether all the military is behind this, or is it a faction contained within the military?
It seems at the moment that it does seem to be quite unified. Yesterday there was gunfire throughout the city, even into the early hours of this morning. But today there appears to be a marked difference in the way that the mutineers are behaving. Yesterday they were wearing ski masks and had their faces covered. Today they're walking around quite confidently with their faces uncovered. We're not hearing any gunfire at the moment across the city. So it does appear that there's been a unified military coup, and this is progressing.
There were those earlier reports of protesters on the streets, and this is unusual because normally what happens when there's a coup or an attempted coup or a mutiny, the local people protest against the coup plotters, against the mutineers, but apparently these protesters were in favor of the coup.
That's true. So yesterday, some protesters tried to gather at the Place de la Nation, which is in the centre of Ouagadougou, where many protests take place. They were quickly dispersed, but conspicuously they weren't dispersed by the military. They were dispersed by the local police with tear gas and so on. So certainly, as of yesterday, the police were not acting in unison with the military, but we certainly haven't heard of anything like that happening here today.
Okay, Henry, thank you very much. Let's bring in Nicholas Hark, he joins us live now from Dakar. Nick, just take us through what your reading of this situation is.
I mean, this is really a situation that President Roch-Marc Kabore should have anticipated. There's been mounting protests against him. Remember, Peter, we talked about this on Saturday when there were banned protests, a peaceful banned protest that was banned, by authorities, protesting against the deteriorating security situation in the country. Burkina Faso, that's been facing a wave of attacks by armed groups linked to ISIL and Al-Qaeda, and pretty much the border areas of the country the authorities have lost control in key areas in the north and the east, the area that borders with Mali. And faced with that, millions of people have been fleeing towards the capital, which seems to be the only safe place. So there's been mounting protests against the president. Now, he's taken some steps by dismissing his government several times in the past, also replacing the Minister of Defense. But really, the ball is in his court. And right now what we're seeing is that the military that had given him an ultimatum to try to change the situation, to give them more means, that was the main demands yesterday by the mutineers, to give them more means to try to fight this threat. Well, they said if the president didn't respond to their demands, that they would take over power. And that's what's happening right now. What's interesting to watch, Peter, is that this is happening in the country, Burkina Faso, where the French forces are present. There was a joint patrol with the Burkina Faso military earlier on this week where a French soldier was wounded. They have their special forces on the ground. And it's unlikely that the French, would support another military takeover in the region there in Burkina Faso. Peter?
And to put this into context, into a broader context, I guess, for us, Nick, this is not a small country, and there are large areas of a medium to large size country that were simply no-go areas for the government and for the military as well.
That's right. It's a landlocked country that shares borders with Mali, but also key other nations in the area. And for many years before Roch-Marc Kabore was elected democratically, well, we have to remember there was a leader, Blaise Compaoré, who was there for 27 years, and he kept that country safe from attacks. Now, what's interesting to note, where this mutiny started is in a place where a key player, General Gendere, is being held. He tried an attempted coup in 2014, and he's known as someone that has been speaking to armed groups in the past, that had kept Burkina Faso safe. Now, he's being locked in there in that camp. There's also someone that was arrested just last week, another member of the military that was a commander in the north of the country that was arrested, allegedly accused of a coup attempt against Roch-Marc Kabore. These are two key figures of the military. It's unclear if they have a role in this situation, but we have to remember the context in which this is happening. 3 coups, Peter, in the region. Guinea, now in the hands of the military. Mali, now in the hands of the military. And perhaps now Burkina Faso. There's a step back in democracy in the region, but for many in Burkina Faso, the military stepping in is a step forward for more security for them, and for them to be able to finally return home to places that are in large swath of areas that are in the hands of armed groups. Peter?
Nick, thank you so much. Nicholas Hark there, joining us live from Senegal.
Okay, thank you, Al Jazeera, for that reporting. So that's another military coup in a West African country. It was Guinea, Mali, now Burkina Faso. I hope they will have an happy ending. So there's a challenge for Africa because we don't want to resolve our issues through genuine dialogue, reconciliation, and that's the end. We just resolve our issues through military force. So it will not happen in Ethiopia because Abiy Ahmed gave them, Grand Marshal or higher military honor for these senior officials. So they will not think about coup. That's the calculation. So thank you for joining me again. Please share, subscribe, like my comment, so we can continue sharing news about Ethiopia, Africa, Europe, and the United States, or any news around the world. Thank you again. So long. Be safe.